I have blurbles. Do you have blurbles?
Blurbles are good. Olbles.
All right.
Yo, what up? This is Tune Into Gaming.
I'm Quactical.
Yeah, and I'm North Kozar.
And we like to take long pauses.
Long pause. I salute you with my long pause. My kitty-like prowess hunts through the Everglades. Are there big cats in Everglades? Like, is that a thing?
I'm not actually sure, but
You know
I
what?
definitely think that almost every time I say the word pause, as in, to pause or resume something, my brain comes up with a kitty paws pun. So, or just thinks of it.
It's the
in
natural
general.
progression of things. Pause into kitty paws. So anyway.
The natural progression.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Aside from coming up with dreadfully wonderful puns, what have you been up to the past 2 weeks?
Well, as we are just after the Thanksgiving week, I've been hanging out with my girlfriend and her family and spending Thanksgiving doing a lot of eating, mostly.
Eating is good.
So much food. Yeah, all the food.
Yeah, similar here. Doing the good old Thanksgiving thing, meeting more of my girlfriend's family and just kind of, eating a lot of food. I assisted with preparing the turkey. And by preparing the turkey, I mean, I shoved the thermometer into inappropriate places onto a cooking bird and read a number multiple times until it read the appropriate number. And then we took it out of the oven. That was about the extent to which I assisted in the food preparation, but I did assist in the food eating, and it was wonderful.
I can say that I almost died, but I really didn't. But I helped my girlfriend's dad put up the Christmas decorations on the front of their house. So we were climbing around on the roof, but there's one particular point where we had to hook these, I don't know what the hell they're called, but they're basically fake, like, pine branches with the decorations on them.
Okay.
And I had to hook it over this nail right at the corner of the roof. So I'm like, have like one leg like braced up on the roof, and I'm like feeling myself like slip slightly down as I'm like trying to hook it over.
Yep.
Of course, like I was holding on with the other hand, but it's still like, well, this is terrifying.
Yeah. It's always good. The looming over the summer, I was looming over the edge of a roof painting, and it was a similar thing. I'm like, I could fall. I'm not going to. But it's like,
But if I fell, I would die.
It's sort of like you're passing through a crowd of people, and you just like see death on the far side of the room, and you're like, sup? And you do the like cool guy head nod toward death, and he's like, yeah, I see you over there. And then you just like go on with your life. Like that's the glimpse of death that you have in those situations.
Yep. I mean, I guess in those situations, death always notices you, right?
He's like, I see you over there. I see you near that edge.
I see you, baby.
So what have you been playing lately?
I've actually recently picked up a copy on sale of Darkest Dungeon. I know we talked about it in some of the previous episodes as part of our dungeon crawling tidbit.
Oh, yeah.
But it's been quite good so far. Very challenging. If you're not familiar with it, it's a dungeon crawling RPG in which you have a party of persistent characters, and as you explore the dungeon and complete quests, they accumulate like diseases and injuries and like mental quirks that
Quirks.
Yeah, well, they're actually really bad. Like they'll go paranoid, or they can like go insane, and they basically have a stress meter. So like, certain monsters, like the more horrific they are, and like when they cast magic, your party will basically like get scared and freak out.
That's actually pretty realistic as far as those kind of things go.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like normally it's just a like, oh, look at this like one-eyed tentacle blob monster. No big deal. Let's attack it. But no, it's like, I'm kind of freaked out,
This
guys.
is terrifying.
Yeah, that's kind of
My
cool.
stress meter just went up. Yeah, and then you also have to pay to like remove their injuries and
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say, do you have to like go to a doctor or something and get like diagnosed?
So you're like always kind of working against this, like I have to keep my party healthy. And then if you don't, they're at a higher risk of failure as well as death. And when you fail, you don't earn money. So it's just like, it can really snowball from there.
So you don't earn money and then people die. Can you revive people, or is it like they're dead and they're gone?
I think they're dead forever.
Oh, so then, yeah, you can really spy, because you have to, what do you do with the money? Do you buy equipment and stuff?
Yeah, you can upgrade each individual character's equipment and like skills and stuff like that. But when they die, all of that money you've invested in them is wasted.
Oh,
because it's gone.
That's fair. So it's kind of an investment simulator.
Yeah. So it definitely is very interesting. And a lot of people were saying that one of the ways to kind of go around the game a little bit is to just like have a party of like B-level characters, because you can hire for free characters from the caravan.
Okay.
But you can only get like a certain amount per quest. But they come in like as like level 0, and so they are very, very weak. And so I feel like as you got later into the game, that would just stop working.
Yeah, because eventually the monsters are so strong that having a low-level character isn't going to do you any good, except for like the first room or whatever.
Yeah, so it's like an exploit that's not really an exploit after a while, which is actually kind of cool.
More of like a quick start sort of deal.
Yeah, I mean, if you just wanted to like not care and like earn a bunch of money, and maybe that is the strategy, and maybe I've like messed up a little bit by not getting a party of characters with like good stats, but I also didn't really want to play it that way. I just kind of wanted to play it for the experience.
You could probably min-max it 50 different ways to Sunday, but it would be more fun, just to play it and be like, well, what is going to happen now?
Mm-hmm.
Again,
it definitely doesn't feel like the kind of game that you're supposed to like metagame or min-max in that way. Like you definitely want to make the decisions that make the most sense to you.
You want to make good decisions, but yeah.
Right. But and I feel like this is something I talk about a lot, where in gaming, I don't want like strategy gaming, especially like single player strategy gaming, to be about just min-maxing. Like I like the more, experiential elements where it's about making the right decision at that time. I don't want there to be just like one best strategy and like you always should do that strategy.
Yeah, because then it gets stale and uninteresting, because it's like, well, you could do it these 15 other ways, or you could just, do it the right way. Yeah, the best way, which is essentially the right way, because that's what all the strategy guys tell you to, which is why I like and appreciate games like Just Cause, or, the ones that give you kind of an open sandbox to complete objectives. It gives you that sort of freedom to make your own way, and it sort of eliminates that best option. I mean, maybe the best option is to just like attach a tank to a helicopter and roll through town, but
I mean, that certainly is best in terms of humor as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's also why I appreciate roguelikes so much, is that, you learn best approaches to situations, but depending on the situation, that best approach can be very, very different.
That's true. That's a really good point. I haven't really watched or been around a whole lot of other people playing roguelikes. I've watched some of Vinny from Vinesauce play Spelunky a while ago, but aside from that, I don't really have a whole lot of knowledge. And Spelunky is more platformer skill as opposed to like decision making. Well, there is some decision making in it, but
I would say decision making is very important, because if like you choose to jump down and that's the wrong decision,
that's true. But yeah, so I guess I'm not as well versed in seeing other strategies, but it is kind of something that's neat. If you find something that sort of works for you and is different, then that's cool. I think that's the point of them.
Yeah, I think it takes like an attitude from the player as well. You have to go into it not intending to min-max, especially for a game like Darkest Dungeon. I feel like I would enjoy it less if I did so.
Yeah.
So anyway, what have you been playing?
So I finally dipped my toes into the Legend of Zelda. Just my toes. I'm just kind of getting into it. Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword for the Wii.
Cool.
I love the Legend of Zelda games. I've played, I think, all of them up into Skyward Sword, aside from the handheld, like Wind Waker animated ones, like Phantom Hourglass and Phantom Tracks. And the new one for the 3DS, Triforce Heroes, I haven't played that one, but that's sort of like a spin-off type of deal. Anyway, Skyward Sword has been really interesting so far. I beat, I guess, what would be considered the second dungeon, or the Earth Temple, even though it looked like the Fire Temple. I don't know. It's cool because I'm going into the game kind of blind. Like, I don't really have a whole lot of knowledge outside of it. So it's been a fun experience so far. However, the unfun experience about it is motion controls. And it just is the most infuriating thing. Like, I have to give it credit. It really did a cool thing with motion control. So like the first boss you fight, essentially, he basically, like, you have to kind of read his hand movements, because he'll like grab your sword if you swing on the wrong side. So you have to like kind of guide his hand to the left and then quickly swing on the right, or vice versa, or, like that kind of thing.
Right.
And there's a lot of mechanics in the game that are like swing horizontal, stab, swing like on the left or right side to sort of like if an enemy's blocking on the right, swing on the left type of thing. But it's not, the motion controls aren't specific enough, or I just don't know how to do them specific enough, I guess.
Well, how long have you been playing it?
I think I'm at like 10 hours at this point.
Oh, okay.
For the past
I was going to
couple
say,
weeks.
like, that seems like a lot to not like understand like a fundamental element of the control mechanism at that point.
It's not so much that. I think that the issue is, so like if I have the Wiimote like sort of neutral and I want to swing to the right, I quickly move my hand to the right and then go back. So it's sort of like it swings to the left, or it swings from left to right because I'm moving the Wiimote from left to right, but I want to swing it right to left. So it could just be, some of my player error, but I always have difficulties with motion controls. I could never get anything higher than 7th place in Mario Kart for the Wii. It was just a travesty. But the point being is that I'm enjoying the story a lot, and that's really what's kind of been like pushing me forward, the whole like sky dimension and whatnot. And I'm curious because if I remember correctly, Skyward Sword is supposed to be like the first Legend of Zelda in terms of like the timeline of games. So that's been sort of interesting, but it just, the motion controls have been difficult, and the flying mechanics, it's basically like a Wind Waker in the sky. You have a bird and you fly around, and the flying has actually sort of been the most infuriating in terms of motion controls, because to get your bird to go higher and therefore then like aim down and get speed, you have to like fling the Wii remote up and down, up and down, up and down. But I haven't yet figured out like the most ideal way to do that, talking about min-maxing, like making it so I have to exert the least amount of effort to get the most results.
So you end up just tying your arm out?
Yeah, no, the first couple of times after I was done playing it, I was like, my wrist really like actually hurts because I'm actually like swinging the sword. And I do appreciate it for that. I appreciate it because they were like, here, look, we've got a Zelda game that uses motion controls. And I mean, I think I'm getting over it and getting a hang of it, but the whole like flapping up and down thing, sometimes I have to do really big arm movements, sometimes it's really small. I don't know. It could just be me. It likely is. Motion controls and me don't get along. But
well, I mean, that's really what I was trying to say with, how long have you been playing? Because I feel like if it was only like a couple of hours or like, a shorter amount of time, I feel like then maybe it would be more likely that it was just you. But, if you've been playing for 10 hours, I kind of feel like just like understanding the movements of the Wiimote, I feel like it really just isn't sensitive enough, or maybe it's too sensitive. I think maybe that's the problem.
It could be. And I'm also not playing it super consistently either. So in any case, but it's fun so far. I'm enjoying it, and I'm excited to finish it and play through it because, well, I was like, I need to beat Skyward Sword so that I can play Breath of the Wild when it comes out in March. And then they're like, actually, JK, it's delayed. So who knows when I'll get to play that, which is saddening. But it also means I'm less likely to get a Switch as well, because I'm like, if they're not going to, they'll probably come out with a special edition Legend of Zelda one. But I just, Skyward Sword is one of the Zelda games that I've neglected for a while, primarily because of the motion controls. So I'm sort of diving into that. But
yeah, I was thinking I'd just pick up a Wii U actually, because even though it's near the end of its life cycle,
please do.
It's going to have such a large library, or even a larger library than the Switch, for a decent period of time.
Well, and because then that means that we can make Mario Maker levels together and like stream it.
True.
And like,
yes,
that would be so much fun to do. Like,
I don't feel like the internet's going to get tired of that.
No, I don't think so. Well, and the nice thing is that because we coordinate things, I can be like, hey, I made this world, download these 4 levels and then play them like as a thing. And like that would be kind of a really cool back and forth. Like we can stream ourselves making the levels and then playing each other's levels. Like, I don't know. That'd be pretty cool. You can definitely get really involved with the amount of time you spend on creating a level, but it is so much fun. So much fun.
In general, we've always loved games where, you can create your own content. And this is,
yes.
Too perfect of a segue, because we wanted to talk about that after our next little segment. But, I can talk about Neverwinter Nights actually as a game that I think had that element to it a lot, and something that I was, very grateful for as a kid, because it was one of my favorite games. And if you're not familiar with Neverwinter Nights, it's a computer RPG where they released the entire tile set to make, or entire toolkit, to make modules or campaigns or adventures in it. And so basically, think RPG Maker, but it's like a 3D engine.
Yeah.
And, the most amazing community developed. And it definitely showed me like what was possible from games that had those kind of features at, a young age that, again, I don't think I could really appreciate at that time, because it doesn't exist like that, these days. Even with, like, the Skyrim modding tools, it was just so much more user-friendly at that period of time, because they, like, released, what they used to make basically the main campaign.
Well, that is in essence what the Skyrim Creative Kit is. It's just more user-friendly, I think. They kind of, like, did a bit more to it, but I remember the Neverwinter Nights, like, creator thing. I really had fun with that. I don't remember if I made anything too in-depth. I think I sort of got stymied with it when I was trying to do scripting content, and I couldn't wrap my brain around it at the time when I was messing with it. But it was a lot of fun to be able to, like, drag things around and do tile sets and make worlds and at least run around in them, if nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it was the depth of it, the fact that you could kind of start on the surface level, with just placing objects and, placing creatures, but then you had access to all of the game scripting, like all of the AI code, or at least the AI scripts. And, that was just so incredible for me, learning to program, learning kind of to see how you set up different scenarios and how you set up, like, behavior around what the player does, or, like, what they have in their inventory, how they're moving about the map. So I'm very, very grateful for that.
That's really cool. I never really thought about it in that way, of being able to sort of see the inside aspect of it and make sense of that. I don't know that my brain was quite there at that time. I think I was mostly like, look, I can make cool stuff and just like put things down. I don't know. That was the cool part for me. So I wasn't, again, very well versed in the actual game itself. It was mostly just the creation thing that was interesting to me. But was there a large community around, like, the content creation side of it as well?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was a website. I forget what it was called. I think Neverwinter NWN Vault or something like that.
Okay.
But they had thousands and thousands and thousands of modules, and there were a lot of them that were really good. I must have played dozens of community-made modules. Sometimes made by, like, one or two people for the most part. Even just using, like, kind of the basic textures that the game had, but you could also put in, like, your own texture packs as well.
That's cool.
I played so many good adventures, and some of these were like 5 or 10 hours. Some of them were 1 or 2 hours, but I played some that were 20 or 30 hours. Thinking about playing a 20 or 30 hour RPG game with a fully fleshed out story, dialogue trees, all that kind of stuff. Of course I can't think of it off the top of my head right now, but there's the Skyrim mod that basically is that. It's like its own world in Skyrim. I'll have to look up the name, but it's the same kind of thing that was created by, like, a group of people. And it's like, I played through it. It's like a 20, 30 hour adventure, just in its own world, fully, scripted dialogue, talking, conversation trees, quests, hidden quests, secret, like, items and whatnot. And it uses a lot of, like, the base game assets, but there's a huge amount of just, like, original story and content that went into it. And hearing you talk about that makes me think that we should make a Skyrim mod, or, like, look into that a little bit, because there is a really big community around Skyrim modding as well. I'm not involved with it, obviously, because I just know very basics about the creation kit, but it definitely is, like, it's a pretty cool community just based on sort of what they are able to churn out, and for how long the game has been out, and, like, the staying power that it has. Oh yeah, is pretty neat as well. But yeah, I'm definitely excited to get into that. One thing that was cool about the Neverwinter Nights toolkit was that, even though if you never installed any texture packs, and you just used kind of the base game's assets, you could still recombine them in so many interesting ways. I don't know if you remember how, like, the armor designer worked, but, like, there were 20 different pieces or slots on kind of the armor textures, so you could make the shoulder different, you could make the upper arm different, the lower arm, the glove, different parts of the chest. I think there were 2 or 3 different colors for each piece as well. Yeah. So you could get really, really in depth with even just the base game assets and make things that didn't look anything like the base game. Yeah. So for the sake of me, the mod was Fallscar, which is the big expansion mod, just so if anyone is interested. But yeah, I do remember the armor creator and being able to, like, customize your thing and just, like, mix and match
all of
I
the
think
assets.
I spent a ton of hours just making cool looking armors and weapons.
I'm sure I did too. It was really intuitive as well, which was neat.
Yeah.
But it's cool to have that kind of community around the creation of content for a game. And I remember when I was young, or not a super long time ago, like sophomore in high school or something, back when I was big into Halo 3 is like my game.
Oh yeah.
You know, there was a lot of like playing Halo 3 online, getting good at Team Slayer or whatever, or Team Doubles. But really some of the most fun I had was interacting with friends that I had made on Xbox Live, just randomly. A couple of them that I met through the matchmaking system, but really a lot of them that I met through like custom games, like friends of friends. And I remember we would just spend hours playing in custom games, like in an Xbox Live party, chatting, hanging out, playing like Predator, which is a map in game mode that was community created. And it's a zombie infection thing. So the zombies, I don't remember if depending on how many players, there was 1 to 3 of them or something, and everybody else were humans, and you were kind of slow, and you had a shotgun, and you had to watch each other's backs because the predator was invisible. I did air quotes there. I paused. Wow. The predator in air quotes.
The audience can totally see you.
Totally.
Don't worry.
But they were invisible, and so it was the kind of thing where like you'd have people, you were supposed to like go around the map. It was discouraged to camp, but like run around the map and like watch each other's backs, and the predators had to pick people off, and it was fun because it was casual enough that you could just hang out. There was monster trucks where you're just on this floating platform off of the map standoff, and there were man cannons that would spawn, and you had to shove each other off of the map. I created a game type actually called Ghost Battle that I think actually one of the groups I was a part of on Bungie.net got their content into Bungie favorites. And I think Ghost Battle made it in there, but not the map. But anyway, it was similar. It was like a King of the Hill, but with the ghost. I don't remember. I don't think it was King of the Hill because the game type wouldn't work. But basically, it was Juggernaut. So you could only get kills by like running people over with the ghost, which was the only vehicle, or like assassinations, so hitting them in the back. And so it was a fight over the ghost, and you'd have to like hijack the Juggernaut out of the ghost and then run him over to become the Juggernaut and get points. And it was just this big like splatter fest. But and then
and then Griffball became a thing as well.
Griffball was did it originate with Rooster Teeth, or
okay, that's what it's named after.
I wasn't sure if that was where it started from or whatnot, but Griffball definitely like became a very well-known game mode that it even had its own.
Well, not really, but an early esport,
and the earliest of esports. But
StarCraft and like CS existed still years and years and years before that.
But it's not Xbox. Doesn't count.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Halo 2. Anyway, whatever. So that had its own matchmaking playlist every now and then as well. But the point being is that like the community around the custom games that I met through these custom games was really something that was very unique and, kind of reminiscent to like the old days of RuneScape and Neopets, where like it was just a very social gaming environment, and like the gaming was almost secondary to the socializing, which it depends. RuneScape, it sort of went back and forth, but like I just don't know that if it's because we're older now or what, but reflecting back on that, I'm really grateful for those times because I don't feel like those natural interactions really occur a whole lot. I mean, I'll meet cool people in passing in a matchmaking game, but it's not the kind of thing where it's like, hey, you're cool. Like we played these custom games together. I'm going to add you as a friend and then invite you the next time. Like it was sort of like a given in the Halo 3 custom game culture community that you were starting a custom game, just invite everyone on your friends list who plays custom games, and they join like, oh, what are you playing? Like, oh, we're playing Monster Trucks. Oh, okay, well, I don't really want to play, but I'll hang out for a little bit, and they'll just like dink around or troll people or whatever in game and just like hang out and chat. So
I definitely think maybe you're onto something, that I think just the culture was different in some ways. Think about a lot of browser-based games that people played that were kind of the first multiplayer gaming sites that were heavily forum based, and so I definitely think a different like forum culture used to be very different from like how social media culture is nowadays, right? And so I think like those early kinds of custom game modes maybe like played into similar like internet cultural elements, excuse me.
Yeah.
And like that kind of bled through a little bit, and maybe that made it more community friendly in that sense. I mean, there definitely are still large communities around games, but the feel is definitely very different for me.
And you kind of already have to be in with the communities in terms of like the more community engagement aspect. If for some of the older ones that are still existing or things like that, it's harder to kind of get your foot in the door with the communities. I feel like that's something that I was struggling with a little bit, about a year or so ago. I was thinking and kind of reflecting back to some of the gaming communities I'd been a part of, and like how it's very different now. It's much more like impersonal because everything has automated matching systems. It's like play a game with people, you trash talk, and you're out. Like there's not that sense of like commitment.
You gotta go find a server or like
you had to like actually search for things. I remember hosting Halo 1 servers and getting people who would join, and like they would look for my server and be like, oh hey, like cool, good to see you again. I mean, it was all text chat, but it's that kind of thing where, oh shoot, even what was the game? It was Armageddon. Yeah, I think it was Armageddon, which was the Tron
based.
Yeah, it was the Tron Light Cycles game, and there was a server that I would always join. I think my name was Animation or something for whatever reason. I don't know. But I would, be on there really consistently, and people there knew me, and we would chat and hang out and play games. But it was this kind of thing that I happened upon this one server, and then I just kept going back because they were really cool. And I think that, that was something that was kind of neat. And I actually, interestingly enough, now that I think about it, the most recent experience I kind of had with that was playing Rust. Like the first server that we joined in Rust was just this cool kind of chill server where it was empty most of the time, but like the people there were nice, and it made me want to come back to it even though the server was kind of vacant. But it's that kind of, I guess, openness to being a bit more out on the internet in more of a intentional and I guess full way, whereas now it's a lot more bite-sized. And I don't mean to make that as a pun, but like it has to be quickly consumable because the internet is such a mainstay in our life. Like, quote unquote back in the day, which my back in the day means nothing, but like thinking about having to use dial-up, like it was a commitment to go online. You had to sit there and listen to that thing like beep and buzz and whir. And you're like, all right, I'm online now. I can Neopets. Yeah. I think I was playing RuneScape on dial-up for quite a while as well.
We played Diablo 2 on dial-up.
Yeah, so it's just...
I think I had cable internet, but I mean, I think, we've talked about this before, but I think a fragmentation kind of occurs as just these communities get larger and larger and larger. Because we're thinking about some of the sizes of the groups of people who played Armageddon, was probably in the hundreds or small thousands, right? Whereas now we're talking about some of these, multiplayer games which have millions and millions of players all across the world, right?
Yeah.
And so just, game makers have had to develop different systems to handle that, and that naturally comes to a point where it changes kind of the nature of the interaction itself. Because people aren't playing necessarily, not as many people are playing those kinds of games. I bet if we were to go back and play some of those games or games that were set up in that way, and they'd be, indie games at this point, similar communities have evolved. It's just harder to find them amongst everything else, because now there's so much. Yeah,
you have to know where to look, as opposed to trying to like, I think that even though Halo 3 was a really big game, I think that it was still sort of fitting into that transitional era of like people kind of wanting that interaction. And I mean, I met a lot of trash talkers and jerks playing Halo 3 matchmaking, but one of my, really good internet friends who I've never met in person, but I'm now Facebook friends with, I met him playing, I'm pretty sure it was Halo 3 Lone Wolves, and we've been friends, internet friends, since like, shoot, I don't even know, a long time ago. But it is very different now, like you were saying, that the game developers have had to kind of like heed the call of, we need to connect, we want to play a couple games and then be done for the day. And I think that kind of trickles over into some of the more impersonal communication. Like it's easy to send things out into the abyss of the internet, like on, well, Facebook isn't necessarily public, but like Twitter or things like that, where you can kind of just like cast something out there and then like people might grab at it, but you're kind of just like throwing it into nothing. And that's kind of like when you go and do matchmaking, you're like, put me in a game so I can do the thing that I want to do and then be done. There's not that sense of like or there's less of a sense of, the community of people that you're playing with, I think. And
right. Because when somebody responds to you, they have to choose to respond to you directly.
Right.
And most people tend not to do that, I feel like. You just, it's everyone's casting into the void, like with Twitter, for example. And yeah, I guess there is a lot of specific tweeting that goes on, but it's, it's much easier for that to devolve into arguments, because then people are like, oh, this person's singling me out. Whereas, I think, forum communication was very different in that, you start a thread about something and then the discussion occurs. But if, two people arguing, everyone's going to get pissed at them and be like, hey, you guys shut up.
And I think I think you're right on the Twitter point as well, but to throw Twitter a bone, I think that you just have to know where to look. Again, like what we were talking about with the games, you have to kind of find it buried under everything. And I think
I had one more thing to add to that.
Yeah.
And I think that the reason that culture died is purely because of scale. As these forum communities got larger and larger, suddenly you had so many people being able to post that, kind of the self-moderation aspect completely went away. And now, everyone's like bumping their posts to try and get them to the top. I remember in the early days of League of Legends, actually, they were switching over from older forum models to kind of the more like a Reddit style kind of thing nowadays.
I remember when they made that switch,
and it was
stopped
very
going
interesting
on the forums.
Well, but because they had a lot of problems with it. As the game got larger and larger and larger, the general discussion just became this giant mess, and the forum system didn't have any tools in place to really curate that mess or make it accessible to the majority of people. You had the people who kind of knew the ins and outs and, knew what was good and what was crap, but then, everyone else was just kind of left in the dust.
Yeah, and I think that when you, like you were saying, you get so large in scale that you lose out on that personability, and so it's no longer, the articulated posts that are thought out, that are longer getting, seen and responded to. It's the controversial, short, quick, reactionary things that are getting bumped to the top and lots of responses to them and whatnot. And so it sort of kills a lot of that natural discussion. It's not to say that it can't still happen, and it's not to say that it doesn't. But I think by and large...
Because it totally still does.
Yeah, but by and large, like you're saying, when the scale really ramps up like that, it is easy to have it kind of,
devolve.
Yeah, devolve and get out of control. But then it also kind of makes me think about like that forum community thing is like, okay, so I somehow found a Bungie.net community, back in the day. I was quote unquote recruited. Someone like messaged me and was like, hey, you should join our group. It's pretty cool. And it was awesome. Like being a part of it was really great. I didn't become super best friends with them, but like there was even like a role playing thread, and it was just sort of like, hey, like what's your life like? What have you been playing? And just really casual and nice, but it was a community that I consistently kept up with. And with time, people sort of dropped off because it was fairly small. But like, I just think that now it's a lot harder to find that. I don't know that that's something that, at least I haven't had it happen organically. And maybe it's because now we're, like I said, we're older, and so it's harder to sort of see that we're becoming set in our ways. Not at all. But I don't know where to look to try and find those sorts of forum communities. And I think that sometimes when I do, and I think like, hey, this community could be really cool, it's hard to get your foot in the door because they feel kind of secluded and cloistered, because that's how that's what they've had to do to kind of stay alive.
You don't just go and like find some randoms to like add a few more people to your community anymore. Like, I would say that probably happens less, or more overall, but less proportionally. Yeah, and I think to be fair to gaming communities now, I don't think that all these things are purely negative. It's not like content today and online communication is terrible, and back in my day it was perfect and amazing. What we're talking about here, I think for me, are somewhat subtle differences. It takes some effort to be able for me to identify exactly what the differences are in some ways in terms of how it feels and how it changes the communication. And it's definitely difficult to like really, really define what that means.
And, I don't know that we will ever be able to necessarily define what that means, because our experiences with the communities that we grew up a part of, or, were parts of as we progressed through our internet youth, is very different from all the experiences everybody else had. And so
Exactly.
it's hard to kind of express those differences in a way that everyone will understand. And I mean, I think I'm okay with not being able to do that, but I think that there's that part of me, and maybe it's the sappy nostalgic, but it misses that personal kind of group of finding the randoms on the internet and being like, you guys are really cool, and just kind of like incorporating them into the fold. Like even thinking about, you know, when we had the guild on World of Warcraft back in, again, quote unquote, back in the day, whatever, that wasn't really that long ago. Well, that was 7,
Like 10-ish, maybe like 8 years ago.
8, yeah. But like it was neat to kind of just be able to do that. And I guess that it's something that could still happen, but I think you have to set out with it with some intentionality and be prepared to wade through a lot more garbage to find it. But then also,
that's definitely the thing. There's so much more garbage that you have to go through.
Yeah, and you also have to be dedicated enough to not only get through the garbage, but then to stick to, you know, like posting with a community or sharing content and like showing that, hey, I'm not just, you know, some other garbage random who's just retweeting or, you know, sharing the hottest, latest memes, which is all Facebook is for me now. I don't disappreciate it. Like I appreciate the good memes that get shared on Facebook. I've got some quality friends who share the best stuff. But anyway, it you know, you kind of have to prove yourself, I think, to get into these sort of more niche-based, cloistered communities a little bit. But at the same time, like, if you're willing to put in that effort, I think that that's cool. But, you know, I wonder if there's a way that can kind of happen organically around a game in this day and age. And like you were saying, that we kind of see that around indie games. And I think that that's true in a sense, because the indie community is typically more like
you definitely have a smaller size scale.
Yeah. And I think that they're more like looking out for each other, kind of, I guess, because there is sort of that well, I don't know if it's as big of a division anymore, but like between the AAA titles and the
I think with like Steam and modern PC gaming, there really isn't that much of a difference.
But the communities that form around some of those games, I think, are really neat. And I mean, looking at like we talked a little bit about FTL, but they ended up taking a lot of like modded content for the game and incorporating it into like an official update, essentially, like the free expansion.
That was the free expansion.
Yeah,
which was such a cool thing and such a cool idea, and I really hope it drove a bunch of sales for them. You know, because I'd love to see them make more money.
I mean, that honestly, that's why I bought the game when everyone was talking about it. I was like, hey, this looks cool.
Yeah, I had the game before, so I really appreciated the free expansion. But, you know, it's definitely interesting. I was actually, you know, just listening to a Two on the Vine episode where they talked about this. But they talked about Evolve, talking about how it had a ton of day one DLC. And I think it is an interesting difference to look at kind of the smaller communities and how they share and distribute content versus, you know, we're talking about AAA titles here, which, you know, definitely their primary motivation is to make money. You know, Armageddon wasn't made, or I'm sure it was like a open source or community made game. It sounds like, but nobody made millions and millions of dollars off that game. And, you know, so I think it just that also has an effect. One other difference I was noticing or thinking about is just in the nature of the communication, looking at forums compared to like Facebook or Twitter. You know, with Facebook, it's like you have your feed, and you have your friends that talk about something, or you have like a group, but for the most part, it's all about like a single person and their followers on a lot of sites nowadays, right? And I think that also like has a different connotation. You know, you're talking about a community, which is this community are followers of this person or this concept or this game, right?
That's a really good point.
And I think like, you know, then it sort of maybe encourages some more like natural competition, because, you know, everyone wants to be the best fan. And I really think
everyone wants to have their voice heard. Share my post, mention me on stream.
Right. And so since like everything is kind of crammed into one large group, you know, it just, it's this like, you know, climbing above everyone else, or, you know, gotta beat out the Joneses, or the metaphorical Joneses.
Right. It is. You're right. It's a follower. It's a group of followers. It's not necessarily a community.
Right.
These people are brought all together around one thing, but that one thing is another person. Whereas, like, I think with a gaming community, it's more like I mean, not to say that it's not similar in the sense that they're brought together around like a game, but it's less like I want to be like them, or I want to try and like be heard or have them like recognize me. It's more like I like this game, you also like this game. It's more of like a shared interest as opposed to like an idolization type of thing.
And of course, those elements still exist in these communities. Again, like it's not like it goes away completely. But
well, yeah, and I mean,
the proportions change.
There was idolization.
The culture changes.
Yeah, there was idolization even in smaller communities back in the day. Like the mods were always like, "Oh, like whatever, haha, you're a moderator of the forum." That was a terrible example. I don't know what I was doing there, but the point being is, the people who had power in the group were looked up to. But I think it was less in kind of this very pop culture idolizing kind of way. I feel like that like YouTube stars kind of get. Which, I mean, I understand it. It's not that I don't understand it, but I think that the sense, what is a sense of community is a little different in terms of at least how we're comparing it. There's lots of different ways to interpret community.
There were definitely, on some of the forum communities I was involved with, there definitely were people that, you saw around a lot of threads who were very active. And, I wouldn't say you really looked up to them in that way, but it's like, oh, this person's cool. Like, if they're in my thread, then, like, a bunch more people are going to come, and it's probably going to be a cool discussion.
They had respect points.
Right. And it was more about respect for, like, kind of how they influenced the discussion and provided cool content. But it was more personal. It wasn't just like, oh, this is some celebrity. It didn't have, like, a celebrity feeling. It was just, oh, here's some, like, cool person that I've seen before and talked to before. And I think that has a very different relationship to it.
I think that's interesting to thinking about that and thinking about the YouTube culture or like the Twitch streaming culture and how content is shared. It is very kind of like you were saying, like about the one person, like Facebook, you're posting about yourself or you're sharing
or the one
something.
Organization.
Yeah. And it's Twitch, you're sharing you playing a game, and it's not to say you can't interact with people, but YouTube, you're posting a video that you did that's probably of you or something you've created. Like, I think that the focus is it's sharing content, which is good, but I think kind of what that natural progression is to sort of create that followership. Like, I mean, it's cool. Like, if I'm streaming and people are there and talking, like, I like being able to interact with them. But it's very different because at least I haven't, to be fair, I have not been to a lot of streams, and I'm sure that there are some that are like this, but it's a lot more people are interacting with the streamer and not with everybody else in the chat.
Right.
And so I think that it sort of just kind of by nature of how these like social media things are constructed, it kind of like pushes people more towards that, like, oh, you're playing this game, that's cool, now notice me.
Everyone looks up, and so no one looks around them for that kind of social interaction.
Definitely.
It's really interesting. One thing I was also curious about, and so I kind of want to discuss with you, was do you think there's a difference for gaming communities between like when a game is single player with like a forum or custom content versus like a multiplayer game where people are playing together? Because I think there have been a large range of games as far as how this has been implemented. Like Neverwinter Nights had a multiplayer element, but a lot of the modules were single player focused, right? So, the forum communities was around sharing the content, and everyone was still playing, but the multiplayer part of the community was actually very separate. So it's interesting how things have changed in that sense as well.
I think that it really depends. I mean, I know a lot of single player games that have some amount of community around them, whether it's like sort of the missed hidden gems of games or whatnot, or if it's just kind of like, more well-known ones. But I think when you have single player games, there's a desire to connect with others who are having a different experience in that same world. And so outside of like content creation, I think forums are kind of a neat way to do that. And, I don't peruse game facts very much, but like, I think that that's one of those places that kind of happens organically because people are like, how do I do this thing in a game? And they stumble upon there, or just the people who are a part of game facts, like that are posting on the forums about a specific game because that's how it's organized. I think that there's some sort of that around there, just based on the nature of it, and a lot of, well, I don't know, a lot of, it's all the games that are on there, whatever. It's with single player stuff, people are sharing like, oh, in this game, like I really like this character, or I really like this quest thing that happens. And multiplayer also offers a very unique aspect of that as well, because then it's like, no, I guess that's true of single player also. Like, oh, how did you beat this boss? I did this thing. Like you were talking about, you know, min-maxing. That's how that happens, everyone.
Yeah. You know,
is forums and sharing. But I think
people would talk about things on the forums, and, you know, some of the forums wouldn't, you know, the people wouldn't necessarily give you like a straight up answer or give you like all the details. They'd like give you a hint or something like that, or say like, hey, try doing this. But and you know, maybe nowadays there's just more guides and more information available.
Oh, yes.
So people don't need to go to like a specific place to try and ask for information, because kind of whatever question they have has already been asked by someone somewhere.
Yeah, that's very true. It's very Google driven. So it's like, I need to figure out this thing. Let me Google. Okay, got my answer. Done. Close internet browser. Back to game. And it's not like, oh, that's how you did it? Like, this is how I'm doing it. Or there's not that level of interaction there. But I think that multiplayer games also kind of have that, like, how do you do this thing better? How do I get better at getting headshots? Or, you know, Halo 3, how to grenade bounce, headshot, battle rifle, MLG Elite Pro hacks.
I think
YouTube
it kind of
video.
preserves that in some way, because there you definitely have, it's more of a matter of opinion, you know, especially when you have like PvP gaming.
Yeah.
You know, how to best play the game is, there's much more discussion as opposed to single player, especially a lot of single player games back in the day. Like, you know, the questions people were asking were like, where do I find this? Like, how do I, you know, beat this quest?
Right.
And, you know, there were ways that just did work, because it wasn't, you didn't have that competitive element, right? So
it's like, where's the button I press to open the door? How do I solve this puzzle piece? Or like put these pieces in the puzzle, like that type of thing. It wasn't like, what's the best spot to camp on Halo 3 Guardian?
Or how do I deal with a player who's like playing in this style?
Yeah. There is a lot more discussion that can kind of happen around that, as opposed to, you know, just saying like, here's the most effective strategy, here's some other ones. But I don't know. I think that it has to do with the intention. Like, if that's what you care about, min-maxing a single player game, like, you're going to go for it and you're going to do it and you're going to find the best way. That's what you're going to share. That's what you're going to consume. If you're interested in multiplayer, how do I get the best strats and like crouch jumping, grenade rocket launching, no scope 360s, you're going to find that, and you're going to kind of like, because the internet is so vast, it exists somewhere. And I think there's so much, like you said before, scale, there's so much opportunity for just these connections that it makes it harder to connect with people, because it's so self-selecting. Like, I think about, again, I was saying Facebook, for me, like on my newsfeed, all of my friends that post stuff, it's a lot of it is shared videos, but I've kind of curated it because these are the people that I'm allowing myself to see. You know, I know these two friends of mine, they post quality content, and I'm going to watch every single one of the videos they share because I respect their humor decisions. But same thing like Twitter, you follow people, you know, you subscribe to communities on Reddit. Reddit is so compartmentalized that like, you don't have to see anything else of the internet if you don't want to. I don't think that's how most people do Reddit. But
no, I mean, they browse around, and, you know, I use Reddit frequently, and that's kind of how I use it too. But it definitely does have like a different feeling in that sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes it very self-selecting, which on the one hand can be beneficial, because then it can create a stronger sense of connection. But I don't know that that's going to result in a sense of community, because everyone ends up there together. They all have to want the community, which I think is something that happens less and less, because there's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't really have an answer for the because like. Just
yeah, I mean, we postulate a lot, and, you know, there's lots of different ways that, you know, our perspective shows us how things are different. But you're right that it's difficult to identify like exactly why it's different, or even really like all the ways in which it is different.
And I don't know that we won't have an answer. Like we said before, there's too many facets to it.
And part of it is just because we're different too, you know, and that's an element that I think is really, really hard to to define or like put a box around.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you don't, all you have is your memories of what you were like and what you wanted and how you approached things.
Yeah.
You know, especially when this is years and years and years ago, you know, some of the nostalgic memories, it's, you know, one of kind of the traps of thinking about, thinking about nostalgia in that way, right? You know, oh, you know, things were so much better back in the day, or, you know, back in my childhood.
It's
you know, even
if the rose-colored glasses type of deal.
Even if, like, you know, there were parts of, you know, my life when I was playing these games that period of my life I wasn't particularly happy. So it's not like, you know, I look back with rose-colored glasses on everything, but I have fond memories of gaming, and I have fond memories of gaming communities, and so those fond memories kind of taint how I approach things, or not taint it, but just like alter how I view.
It has an impact for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it is kind of interesting in that way.
I love this discussion on like just the communities that form in general, but also just like specifically around games, because it's something that I've just been so curious about, sort of how they happened. And I like hearing, you know, your stories, and I like getting to share my own, but I would be really interested in, at any point, you know, listeners in the future, whatever, like share with us your stories about gaming communities and sort of like how you became a part of them, or what you've known from them, whether from your childhood or maybe stuff that's happening right now. Like I'm really curious. I want to hear your stories. Like we're saying, you know, these are our stories.
Maybe we just got antisocial over the years and old and cynical, and you know that's totally a possibility.
It is 100% a possibility. Who knows? But yeah, like we're curious about sort of what that experience has been like for you. So send us a message, let us know something. You can tweet it at us at tuneintogaming, or you can send us a long and descriptive email, tuneintogaming@gmail.com. I'll read it. Like I will read the whole email, even if it's paragraphs. This is something that's really fascinating to me.
Accidentally the whole email.
The what? Sit down and read
accidentally the whole email.
Yeah. But yeah, it's something I am really curious about. So if there's any listeners out there who have a thought or two to chime in, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, and you know, we may even read and talk about it on the next episode as well, if the person is willing.
Yeah. But it's cool. I think that how communities form is something that's really interesting, and I think that people talk a lot about games, and you know, over the years gaming has gone through its roller coaster ups and downs of, you know, games are killing America's youth, they're getting fat, they're getting violent. But I think that something that has always been true is that they've always brought people together in some form or fashion. Everything has its negatives, everything has its downs, but I see so many stories and hear so many people who have talked about how certain games have helped them through really hard times in their life, or like finding communities through games have helped them through rough patches. And I think that it's really nice to hear those stories as well. And especially thinking about like the gratefulness in the Thanksgiving season, it sort of ties into that a little bit. But
yeah, I think that definitely inspired us in terms of talking about this particular topic.
Yeah. But enough with us jibber-jabbering about...
Jabber.
Jibber, flubber, blur, blur, blur. It's one of those things where I said a lot of words about communities, and I probably said the word community about, like, if someone counts how many times I said community or any, like, suffix attached to communit, like, I will give you an internet cookie medal point. Communit. Whether with a Y or an IES, or are there others?
Is a communit a unit of communities? Like that's how you measure communities? 2 communits, 3 communits.
We need more communits. Build more communites. Wait. Anyway. Let's do the mystery sound. We don't have... I feel like we need like an intro music for this.
I mean, we've done everything else for mystery sound with my mouth noises, but you know.
Well, not everything. We have the new, so mystery sound, just to key in, because I feel like I should introduce a little bit. We've each picked 3 clips of music or sounds from games we know the other person has played, and we're going to share them with each other, and we have to guess what they're from. Whether that includes a lot of clues because we're forgetful or it's really obscure, you know. We'll
It's really
find
obscure.
out.
You've probably never heard of it, except
Yeah,
they're games that the other person has played, so they have heard of it.
right.
Ah,
So we just both get to adjust our hipster glasses in that case.
hipster wiggle.
Your
Wiggle.
metaphorical hipster glasses and my actual glasses, which I don't know if they count as hipster, but something.
Only metaphorically.
Only metaphorically count as hipster, right? But so we have correct and incorrect sound effects now that are played, or that I will play, and that are your voice. And we also have a new addition to the mystery sound segment where the loser has to create some sort of victory fanfare for the winner with their face noises.
Yes.
So, yeah. Do you remember who started last time?
It was either you or it was me. One of those two, but I'm not completely sure. It could be, someone else.
It could be.
You never know.
I might be like a little tired
Like
because you said
Schrodinger's
that.
game.
It took me a really long time to process that. I was
That
like,
was wrong.
wait, who's the third person? Like, if it's not you or me, who did? Anyway, okay. I'm just gonna play your clip for me, and I'm gonna go first. How about that?
Alrighty.
How do you like them apples? I don't know if this says something for how many hours I put into the game. That's from Just Cause 2 in the like Mile High hot air balloon club thing. So,
That is correct. Ding, ding, ding. Oh, that sound effect is always great and always makes me smile.
It'll forevermore.
You are correct, good sir. Yep, that's from Just Cause 2, the Mile High Club.
It's one of those things that you don't really forget. Like all of these bartenders starting to shoot at you and this like NSYNC music playing, and then oh wait, I'm gonna blow up the thing. Let me jump off first, and then just like, I think you blow it up, but it's still there or something weird.
In like a story mission, yeah, I think there's like a heist on there. I remember trying to land airplanes on the top of it for the longest time, but I think they like blew up instantly or something.
Yeah, if you touch the balloons, it might have. I don't know. It's been too long. You know what I want to play? I want to play Just Cause 3. You know what I can't play because my computer's too old? Just Cause 3. Have you bought Just Cause 3 for your PS4
Me also. No,
you...
I have it for my PC. I should definitely get it for the PS4 and stream the hell out of it.
Yeah, whatever system so that I can watch someone play it and like live vicariously through you. Oh.
Yeah. No, I had the same experience. I bought it and I was excited, and then I realized, it's like, I still want to buy this game. I know I'm going to get a gaming PC eventually. And I don't care if it's 10 years down the road. I will still play this game.
Yes.
But, because, Just Cause 2 was probably, in the top 5 of my favorite games of all time, if not, number 1, just in terms of hours played.
And positive experiences. And
and just like, the sheer, metric fuck ton of lulls that we manufactured during those years.
that was one of those games that was a lot of fun to trade off. We would trade off every death.
Oh, yeah.
Heck, before we even
owned the game. Yeah, we played the demo.
We played the demo. You got like 20 or 30 minutes to roam around in like the desert part, and we would just trade off like every 30 minutes.
I mean, it's funny because the game was like just as fun then as it was pretty much in the full game.
Yep.
I mean, there was obviously a lot more stuff, so it added to the scope of what you could do, but it's not, it's you miss stuff, but it's still amazing even as the demo.
Yeah, there's not been a whole lot of times that I can recall. There's 2 games that I bought because of a demo. And that was Split Second, a Disney racing game, which I haven't played for a while, but I know was a really cool and fun, unique game because you got to blow stuff up. And then Just Cause 2, which also you got to blow a lot of stuff up with.
Maybe we just really liked blowing stuff up.
That could be. I mean, I still do. Oh, I do remember. I was able to play Just Cause 3 on my computer at like a solid 7 to 8 frames per second.
Yeah.
That would like lock up every now and then.
Yeah, that's kind of how it was for me.
But I don't remember how. I think I just got in a plane and flew straight somewhere. And I found a military base and I got in a jet, and it was a bomber jet. And like our wish list from Just Cause 2, sharing a piece of colonialized childhood here, that it was to have bombers in Just Cause 2 where you could like just carpet bomb things and blow stuff up, as opposed to trying to like strafe in the jets, which was pretty awkward. And I was
you
like,
could basically only shoot their guns or missiles in the direction that the plane was flying. And the skybox was fairly low, so it was difficult to actually, be able to shoot anything accurately, like if they were a ground target.
Well,
it was actually much easier to do it with a helicopter than with a plane.
the skybox was really high. The skybox was huge, actually, but the issue was that you had to be so close to the ground to see what you were shooting.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Scratch that.
Yeah, well, it's a similar issue.
I do remember because then we would fly the planes up to the top of the skybox, jump out, and then try and get back in before we crashed.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Oh my gosh. That game was just so much fun.
But yeah, I remember I took a Snapchat video of the bomber like in action, going from like 7 frames a second. Look, there's a bomber in the game. And then like that was it. And then my computer burst into flames probably. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. All the nostalgia for that game.
Yeah. Anyway, so here is my first mystery sound for you.
Oh man, well that was some funky beats. It's ringing so many bells, and I'm so clueless.
Let's see. What can I give you a hint that'll be fun? One of the fun hints is I used to pronounce the name of this level incorrectly.
There's so many things we pronounce incorrectly.
I know. As soon as I said that, I was like, that was a terrible hint. It's a game that's meant to be played multiplayer for the N64.
Is it Mario Party?
Yes. Do you remember which one
Mario
specifically?
Party 3.
Yeah. Mario Party 3. There you go.
Ding, ding, ding.
Do you remember what the level is?
No.
It's Creepy Cavern, to which I used to pronounce Creepy Carven for some reason. I think I just misread it one time and failed to...
of all the things that you mispronounce, I actually didn't remember that particular mispronunciation.
Dang it, I take it back. Internet, can we get a do-over? Can we just, like... I don't know what that was, but
that was
yeah. That's it. That's the noise
like
of an
usual.
internet redo. or do-over or undo or whatever. I don't know. Okay, so it's a good start. We both are at a number that is greater than 0.
Yeah, I mean, I needed a hint, but
that's fine. It was a little off the wall. I was just like impressed with how quickly I came up with them for this episode, because last episode I was like, I'm running out of ideas. What games has he played? And this time I'm like, let me just type in all these passwords. So, all right, my turn up.
It's your turn to lose.
Lol. So this makes me really, really happy. If I'm not mistaken, that's from Summon Night Swordcraft Story.
Yes, you are correct. Ding, ding, ding.
Isn't that just the generic, like, you got in a battle music within the first 50 floors?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure if it's which floors, but yeah.
I think it's up until, for some reason I feel like the battle music changed beyond floor 50.
That wouldn't surprise me.
But so Summon Night Swordcraft Story is a hidden gem of a game. I think I stumbled upon it by accident reading a Game Informer magazine. I was like, this seems kind of quirky and fun, and I bought it. Like, I know I bought mine. Did you ended up buying one too, didn't you?
I think so, yeah, because I had a Game Boy Advance at that point.
Yeah. And so it's basically like Speaking of dungeon crawlers, you
Boy, our influences don't show at all, do they?
no, you go into a dungeon and fight monsters and collect materials to build weapons because you're part of this like competition with sword crafts to build the best weapon and fight and beat the other opponents and win the tournament. However, there's like this mysterious, spooky underlying story, and it was really like a very well delivered story. I feel like, even though it was pretty cliche as far as the kinds of, there's a mysterious evil thing stories go.
Right.
But I enjoyed it. It was a nice twist on it, and it had pretty cool and unique gameplay. I actually bought the second one a little while ago, but I couldn't get into it as much, and I don't know, again, if it was just like a time thing or because the original one, the story was better in my opinion. But again, I didn't really play it a whole lot, like consistently. So
I think it just, when the game came out, we were more unfamiliar with those kinds of game mechanics. And so the fact that it did have kind of real-time battles with kind of an RPG type game, and as well as a fairly open-ended dungeon, was definitely a really cool combination. Yeah, for sure.
The weapon crafting was fun.
And you had to like go find materials for them, didn't you? That was like part of the dungeon exploration.
Yeah, you had to break barrels and crates, and you also got materials for beating monsters and whatnot.
Yeah.
But
well, good guess. We both played that game so much that I'm not surprised that you remembered that particular theme. But
did we ever do the multiplayer?
I think so. Oh yeah, because I remember you could play as the enemies.
Oh, that's right. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, like you could play as like all the bosses and stuff too.
Huh. Maybe we should try and do that. Can you do?
You could probably do it emulator. Yeah,
emulator Link.
I know for advanced games you can. Like, because
that'd be cool.
I know you can do it locally because like I got like Fire Red version and I would like trade my Pokemon back and forth.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if you can do it like over the internet. You might be able to do it with like a Hamachi style kind of land setup.
Yeah, probably with some sort of land. That'd be kind of fun to try.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a pretty cool game.
It would also be fun to try and like race through that. Like just both start it and then see who we can get for this. Yeah, speed run until we forget how to continue with the game. Anyway.
Yeah, it's funny that like, for me, this Mystery Sound segment has definitely become almost like a secondary nostalgia trip.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, oh, what game has Kozar played, but not in a while? So we can like maybe not remember this, but we'll remember it.
Yeah, and a lot of the music that at least I'm drawn to is from older games because it is either more iconic or I just remember it more fondly. Like I don't. Well, I mean, there's current games that the music's good from. I think, my brain just is more inclined to go into the past to find stuff.
Go back to the past.
Right. Back to the Future, registered trademark of some company.
Back to the Future Past.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm going to play you the next of my mystery sounds.
Oh man, so many bells are ringing and I really still can't remember. Hold on.
This makes me even happier.
Man, I'm failing tonight. You're going to have to give me a hint.
Okay, I'm going to give you a hint, but I'm not going to let you get this one correct.
Okay.
It's a game that we both played a lot.
I hate you.
Also, you may have used this game as one of your mystery sound choices.
Oh, well, okay. But see, now that you've made it obvious, now I'm like even less likely to get it.
I don't know. You may have used it for one of your mystery sound choices sometime in the near future past. Like the more nearer to the future than the past.
Oh, is it also from Summon Night?
Yes. I'm just gonna play the ding ding and the rare. Just
ding ding ding, ding ding ding. Was it the same theme?
No, that was the title theme.
Oh, Okay, so yeah, because I listened to the title theme before getting to the battle theme. So that's why I'm like, I really listened to this within the past week. What?
Oh man,
Sometimes that almost makes it more confusing.
because you're like, I know that this is somewhere, but like I think we've
What?
started to train ourselves to think really far back in our past.
Yeah.
That was
Oh,
great.
the mind games.
Yeah, as soon as I clicked play, I was like, yep, I now hear it. This is gonna be great, and I was just smiling. I knew one of these times we were gonna pick the same game.
Oh yeah. Well,
I
I
just
mean,
knew
we've
it.
like talked about our game like almost accidentally several times.
Oh, we broke the theme. Oh yeah,
What?
spoiler alert. I guess that means none of the things are from like Darkest Dungeon or Halo 3 or Neverwinter Nights.
Oh yeah.
Oh well, that's okay.
Oh yeah, because we had totally done that like every time.
Yeah, to some extent or another. That's whatever. Some things.
Well, I think it's because
never
this
last.
time like you haven't played Darkest Dungeon and you haven't really played Neverwinter Nights. And then like
That's true.
if I were to have picked Halo 3, I would have thought that would be super obvious. So
Yeah, that's fair.
that's
And
funny though.
we didn't talk about like games specifically, but some things just are fun while they last. But
Oh yeah. We had a streak going.
oh yeah, that's good stuff. Okay, your third mystery cliff. What happened? You just like say a word sometimes,
Mystery Cliff Note.
and like random other letters like jump in. They're like, guys, let me be a part of it too, and just like the letter F jumps in between the I and the P, so you get cliff.
I think you're just insane.
Maybe.
In the membrane.
You're the best.
Am I?
Yeah. So now okay, so it's from Super Mario RPG,
Oh my gosh.
Legend of the Seven Stars, right? That's the subtitle.
Yes. Ding
Yes.
ding ding. You suck. I hate you.
No, that's the best game in the entire. So okay,
No, right?
let me share a story. This game came into my life, and therefore I believe our life, because I introduced you to it, right?
No, I don't think so. I think I randomly found it on an
really?
emulator. Yeah.
Oh, even better. Well, then let me share you a little tale about how it became a
Let
part
me
of my
tell you
life.
a story.
Oh wait, first of all, was that just the generic boss music?
No.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, so you should guess where it's from in the game because it's a specific.
I
Maybe, I don't know, but well,
I'm not sure. It sounded like it played, if I'm remembering correctly, it plays in multiple parts, but I also feel like it's the sword, like bouncing dude whose name I forgot.
was that Mac the Knife? Because I remember
Yes.
there was Mac
Yeah.
the Knife in that game.
Yeah, I think that was probably him.
It may have played there. I took it from the Smithy battle at the end of the game.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, then that might just be the final battle music. I don't know.
It might be like the like big boss battle music because I think they had like a couple of different battle music tracks, but
Okay.
I'm not sure if they had one specifically for each boss.
Gotcha. But did he have like multiple phases?
Yes, and so I think it's from his like normal phase. You like
Okay.
I think you like kill him and you like crash down into hell or something like that.
And then you fight. Okay, so then that could be like more
Yeah.
generic boss music, and then you fight his evil form. Anyway, Super Mario RPG is a game for the Super Nintendo that is unlike Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, Superstar Saga, whatever all of the current attempts are. Not that they aren't also good games in their own right, but something about Super Mario RPG is just you have to play it.
The storyline was so good and
So
really really in depth. Like
Good.
they
Yeah.
added in a lot of elements that like you don't see in other Mario games. Because like like in Superstar Saga I played it as well, but it is very like Mario in that sense.
Yes.
Whereas like Super Mario RPG like actually kind of took a hard left turn somewhere as far as tone.
I
'Cause
love it. It's
it's so different. It just
it's
has
so
a very
different.
different tone to it.
It's off the wall, quirky, left field. Like it doesn't feel like a Mario game, and yet Mario and Co. are there
I mean,
with
and like
all of these other characters.
Mario games are off the wall and quirky, but like I don't even really know how to describe it. But they're kind of off the wall and quirky in like a cliche Mario way, whereas this definitely had a very like I keep just saying a different tone, but
you need to play it. If you're listening and you don't know about the game, just look into it, play it. So anyway, here is my tale of how this game came into my life. So when I was young, I don't remember how old I was, but my dad was out garage sale shopping probably or something. Yeah, it was he was at a garage sale and he bought this Nintendo Power magazine because I'm sure he was like, hey, this says Nintendo, like, here, have this Nintendo thing. I mean, he knew about games, but like that was probably the thing that clicked for him, and it was probably like 50 cents. But it wasn't a Nintendo Power magazine. I don't know how much attention I paid to it at first. It was the Nintendo Power Guide to Super Mario RPG.
Oh.
And so, at some point after having this, I leafed through it and read through it, and eventually I read it like cover to cover. And I was like, this is the most amazing game ever. I now know everything about it. I need this game in my life. And we had, do you remember Microplay?
No.
Okay, so Microplay was like pre-GameStop local gaming place that was really great. They had a lot of awesome use games. It was a cool kind of like little community thing. They don't exist anymore, unfortunately, back home.
Well,
I went in there with my dad and at some point later down the road, and I was like, hey, there's this game for the Super Nintendo called Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars, whatever. I need this. You guys don't have it, but can you let me know when you get it in? And when I say me, probably my dad said all this. I don't know. I was like, I need this. Need it. And they were like, yeah, sure, totally. Like, if we get it in, we'll give you a call. Because my dad and I used to get all my cartridge games from pawn shopping. So, it's N64, Super Nintendo, whatever. But no one had it anywhere. And I think it was like the next day or something, we got a call and they were like, hey, yeah, so we just got one in. If you want to come and pick it up. We paid like $15 for it, or I don't even know. And I played it, and I took my Super Nintendo up to my grandparents' house at one point because I was just so wanting to play it. And I was like, I need to play this. You don't understand. And I don't think I ever beat it. I think I got to Smithy and was unable to defeat him as a youngster. But I did basically like everything else, and maybe I did eventually beat it. I'm not sure. I haven't played it since then, but it's so amazing. And I was in, oh man, I forget the name. I think it was called Super Smash Games. It's a local gaming place here in Washington. And I was just perusing all the games because I love the local smaller end, not smaller end, but like local gaming stores, because they have all the games. Like you're going to get Nintendo games, consoles, just like everything, and it's going to be awesome. And so I was perusing everything, and I saw a Super Mario RPG cartridge in there, and it was like $60 or $70, and I was like, wow,
holy cow.
And I mean, that's nothing, because there's some games that are Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, I think it is, for the GameCube, is like 125, and I unfortunately lost my copy of it.
Not that I would ever, they're not in print anymore, so the copies are fairly limited.
Yes, and it also just is not one that's out in circulation, because I think it's far enough along in the gaming food chain cycle that people were like, this is a good game, I'm going to hold on to it.
Right.
And then the price was whatever price point it was, and people are like, yeah, no, I'm definitely holding on to it. But I think I lent mine to someone ages ago and never got it back, which was unfortunate. Yeah. But anyway, point being was just that thinking about that music and that game, I really tangented, but you just...
So tangent, yeah.
You just have to play it. I can't necessarily say go out and spend $60 or $70 on it if you don't own it.
I'm pretty sure it's possible to play it on an emulator, because that's how I played it. I never played it on the SNES. So
okay.
Yeah, because there was a point in time where I was playing a bunch of emulator games, and I remember I also played. I don't think I finished, but I played a lot of Chrono Trigger, which is also a fantastic game.
You know what? That's one I need to play. That has to go on my list of games to play, because yeah.
So much so that I'm pretty sure that I named one of my characters in Chrono Trigger after the Cloud Puff character in Super Mario RPG?
Mallow.
Yes. I named the frog in Chrono Trigger Mallow.
That's fitting because I mean he was basically like a cloud mushroom frog
Well,
thing.
yeah, that was I think the joke is that the Mallow character, he was this like cloud mushroom, but he had been like orphaned with the frogs and was raised believing he was a frog. So it was kind of, but it was like a joke throughout the entire game that he looked nothing like a frog.
Oh man, see, this is the stuff you're missing out when you aren't playing Super Mario RPG. Why are you even still listening to the podcast? Why aren't you playing?
Go play it right now. Turn this off.
All right, well, you could wait a little bit more because we only have like one more mystery sound. But anyway.
But yeah. I definitely named the frog character in Chrono Trigger Mallow.
Nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and apologize for this last one because it's not music, but it was something that I felt was more iconic that you might get. You need to give me more difficult ones next episode, I guess.
Okay.
A challenge to you. I mean, because I just rolled through those way too easily.
I stumped you a couple episodes ago, so it's fine. There's some back and forth.
Back and forth. All right, here you go.
Oh my gosh, that is totally from Pokemon Stadium.
Which one?
2?
Yeah.
The one we played?
Yes. What is it from specifically in the game?
Is it like the sushi eating minigame where you have to like it spins around and you have to eat the right kind of sushi?
It is a minigame. It is not that one.
Oh, is it something like sushi related? Because I know there were several sushi related ones.
It's not sushi related. I think the sushi one was from Pokemon Stadium 1 actually.
Oh, well.
But it's the one where you're a scyther or a pincer and you're cutting the log as it drops. So the first part plays at the beginning and then you wait and then the log drops and you have to press A to cut it at the line or before the line. And then the thing played afterwards when the score
some
totaled.
really silly mini games there.
Silly mini games. Oh
Sinful.
Man. Well, you know Pokemon is the devil.
Oh yes, totally. Talking about video games ruining children.
Yeah, Pokemon's the worst.
Mm-hmm.
You hear that creepypasta about Lavender Town?
Just that we talked about a few episodes ago.
Did we talk about it? I couldn't remember.
Maybe. Well, we talked about Lavender Town, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was this story about this like hidden note melody in the like Lavender Town thing that when you analyzed the music on a spectral analyzer, it showed up as like the ghost icon, and it was like forcing children to like commit suicide or something ridiculous. I don't know. There were some well done videos describing the creepypasta, but no, I was actually thinking more of like the little macaroni noodles. Those are pretty good. But yeah, I wasn't sure which minigame to pick. I almost picked the counting one where like all the Pokemon walk past and you have to like push the button to like count up how many Pokemon go by.
Oh, was the Clefairy dancing one that we played a lot too?
I think that might have also been from Pokemon Stadium 1.
Oh, well, I mean, that's sure. Definitely not something I'm going to remember, like which game they're from.
No, yeah, they're just all those minigames. They were really cool minigames, though.
Yeah.
I do remember that I had some like weirdo N64 controller that was off-brand, and I think I made you use it because it was my N64, and I was like, here, take this stupid thing. And we were playing like the Ekans ring toss one from Pokemon Stadium 1.
And it like didn't work.
But we later, like many years later, figured out that it's because it had a turbo, and the turbo kept like getting hit, and so it was like continually pushing one of the buttons. And so we were like, this controller's broken. And I think my mom and I took it back. And then like when we got a new one and later we're like older, we were like, wait, we were probably just hitting the turbo button.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because I remember that happened, like something similar happened when we were playing Blitz. Like it wouldn't pass the ball correctly or something like that.
Yeah, and you're like, this is stupid. And I'm like, haha, you got the broken controller, sorry. Oh yeah,
I totally didn't even remember that.
Blitz was a fun game.
Oh yeah.
Man, you need to like live closer to me so we can play some of these local
and
multiplayer things. Yeah.
For sure.
Do it.
I haven't played like any of the more recent Blitz games. Like I'm not really into football games nowadays, but it was questionably a football.
I mean, it was mostly lulz. My dad and I played it on the arcade before we got it for the 64, I think.
Oh, it was an arcade game originally. Interesting.
Yeah. Same with Rush.
Oh, yeah. I do remember that. I think they made like at least like an Xbox Blitz, like Blitz the League or something like that. But I think it was very different. It wasn't. I don't know.
Oh
I
yeah,
actually have no idea.
wasn't it like rated M and was all like
Like you could
dark
like actually
and
like kill the players or something. Yeah.
something ridiculous? Yeah, I think it took it too far, and then they were done with it. Oh well,
Yeah.
that was a Midway game though.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, what Midway's not around anymore, are they?
I don't think so.
I think they've been out of it for a while. I don't know. Like I'm trying to act like I know things. But
Talking out yo butt.
so anyway, you got 2 right, I think.
Sort of. I mean, with hints. Whereas you
What-
just like nailed all of them.
Yeah, I did. So I win. Give me my victory fanfare. Think
I
quicker.
guess you win.
Okay,
Yes.
that's acceptable. I accept your offering.
Except my mouth trumpet offering.
Yep, that's all I ask for. A little
I totally
face
thought we were
noises.
just gonna play my
No.
sound again.
Because it'll be more fun this way. If you ever win again,
If.
then I'll have to
Oh,
make up
throw in the
something which
shade.
will be kind of fun. It's just make it so that you win. So give me harder clips, because then I can make weird face noises and have an excuse to do it, and not
As
just be
opposed to
like.
just like most of the time when you do it anyway. Oh, is that gonna be your victory noise? Like
No, my victory noise is gonna be good. What are you
way
talking
cooler
about?
than that.
Yeah, that was just weird, random. Victory noises are supposed to be like triumphant and
OMFG, I'm
powerful.
so random.
Yeah, lol, OMG, so random. But yeah, now that we've successfully exhausted, I think, our mental capacity at this point in time, we can wrap it up for this episode of Tune into
Rapping?
Gaming. Oh
Get
no,
it?
I was thinking more like the tape and I don't have any things
Oh,
around
I mean,
me to
it's
simulate.
the holidays, so it could be
Yeah.
like wrapped like a present.
Yeah. See, look at you. Well, I mean, you took it to the music side, which that's fine, but
Took it to the music side. Yeah,
you're just gonna start like rapping everything you say now.
absolutely not.
Okay, yeah, you definitely tore it down on that one. But
Nope.
anyway, this has been your, I was gonna say loyal, your whatever. This is Tune Into Gaming. We're on Twitter at Tune Into Gaming. Email us tuneintogaming@gmail.com.
Do it.
Really though, share stories about communities around games that you've been a part of or experienced. We're super interested to hear what you guys have all, gone through, struggled
Hit
through,
us
suffered through.
up.
Or yeah, just whatever you've experienced. Reach out to us. We let us build a community and not have it just be like us spouting nonsense toward you. Spout some nonsense back at us. Like that's good.
And then we can have, a cross stream of nonsense.
Cross stream.
Don't cross the streams, but in this case, do cross the streams.
I think we're like really starting to not make sense, and that's saying something.
So anyway, tune out.
Meow.